What is going on, guys? I am your host, Eddie Lynch, and I am feeling great this morning. I hope you guys are too. So, in the spirit of TLC, I am here to talk predictions. I will give a shortened review on Raw and SmackDown this week. I won't really give a full-blown review. So, yeah, keep that in mind. I'm just going to go through it real quick. So, let's talk about Raw this week. So I missed the most of Raw tonight. I caught the last hour and a half. So like I said, I'll just give a few thoughts. I didn't really care to catch the rest of it. You know my history with Raw, as is a majority of the wrestling fans. So yeah, let's get to it. Sheamus and Cesaro, they had a bar brawl segment. I thought that was very APA-esque. I know people have been comparing that to APA, which wasn't my initial thought up until I thought about it. Remembered the friendly tap segments. So, yeah, it is very reminiscent, I'll admit. It was actually a pretty good segment. I liked it. I know a lot of people were complaining about the camera angles being a little hokey and stuff, you know. You're not going to be able to get realism everywhere. So, personally, the camera angles weren't a problem for me. For those that didn't see this, let me go into the small detail. They were in a bar. They started bickering for a little bit. As they kept doing, that was their typical shtick. Some guys harassed them. One guy started talking about Sheamus. He was telling him, "Oh, I'm sorry. Not your ass. I'm going to kick your arse." And he was not the best at insults. Neither was the second guy who started insulting Cesaro. And then the both of them just started a brawl, and you know, they were kicking ass. They were kicking like 20 other people's asses. And then, you know, long story short, they're both together. They both celebrate with a bottle of Guinness, which didn't even make sense because Cesaro, he asks for some Guinness to celebrate, and he didn't even drink it. So that was what's funny about this whole thing. But hey, at least we're getting a new chapter, finally. They're getting along, and I could see them winning tag team championships, possibly. So, now with that being out of the way, like I said, I hope they dethrone the New Day. So, let's segue to that. The New Day. They get into a match with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, the Club, who surprisingly looked a lot stronger this time around. Carl Anderson got a little bit more of offense in. They actually started charging at them. They had the starting offense in the beginning of the match. It was back and forth, I guess. The match finishes with Xavier Woods getting a roll-up on Carl Anderson. There's no surprise there. So we all know the New Day is going to break their Demolitions record, which is also no surprise. It was a good match with a ruined finish, to be honest with you. So, you know, if this is how the New Day is being kept in terms of booking, don't be surprised. I mean, that's how I feel about it. And personally, I'm not going to be one to complain about it. Granted, it does feel phoned in a little bit, so that does bug me to some extent, but what are you going to do? The predictability will end. And speaking of predictability, as I predicted, Sasha beat Charlotte today. You know how Seth Rollins has the theme, redesign, rebuild, reclaim? You know that saying? The theme of this feud is rehash, rehearse, repeat. Let me preface this by saying I have nothing personal against Sasha nor Charlotte. In fact, women's division has been better than it's ever been. I'm going on record and stating that. But when you have these two thrown together so many times and literally doing the exact same thing, it's not enjoyable anymore. How many times can you go, Oh my god, Sasha just won the belt from Charlotte. She made her tap out. Yes, yippee, whatever. What a great thing. She deserves it. How many times can you do that? How many times can you go, oh my god, Charlotte won the belt from Sasha in such controversial fashion? I mean, how many times can you do that until you realize it's just gonna keep happening every single pay-per-view until they decide to make it stop? How many times can you do that? You know, I gave this idea of, you know, giving Charlotte substitutes, because if you want to have Bayley be the one to dethrone Charlotte and have it be at WrestleMania, you got substitutes. You got Dana Brooke. You know, she's not going to be the greatest match in the world, but like I said, if you have Charlotte and Dana, you know, work this match together, you know, think hand in hand, practice this match so much together, because I'm sure they're aware of the smart crowd going, oh my god, this match, the smart crowd getting ready to shit all over this match. I guarantee you they will be motivated enough to just go at it and have one hell of a match. You have story there at the Royal Rumble, you know, and it's not too late to do that. Personally, I would be all for it. And I think if creative or whatever the hell it is, whoever the hell it is, you know, lets their hair down to just do whatever they want, you could have that. You could have a great match with Dana Brooke and Charlotte. You know, have them rehearse a little bit. Give Dana Brooke some personal training, because she's not great in the ring, as a lot of people keep attacking her for, but she has been called up early, so that's what happens. Not really her fault, but that's what happens. Now, I've suggested all these ideas. I suggested Summer Rae as well, because they have history. And I suggested at Fastlane, you have an NXT Open Challenge. You know, give an NXT superstar a challenge to showcase what they got against the Queen, Charlotte Flair. How great does that sound? Aaliyah, Liv Morgan, Peyton Royce, even Billie Kay, you know? You got some really good, you know, fun showcase matches potentially. And it's Fastlane, so it's not like you're supposed to have this storytelling match. You don't need to have that. Especially not in a pay-per-view like Fastlane. You know, so I'm giving all these ideas because I think the Sasha-Charlotte match, you know, has cooled down in terms of momentum, but they just need to ease up on this feud. Let it rest for a little bit, and then let these two ladies go back at it again when some time has passed. So, you know, again, like I said, I pitched all these ideas for that specific reason, which I hope at least one of these ideas come to mind. I'm personally hoping on the NXT Open Challenge. So, I think, yeah, these two need a break. And a big one. Fast. Give some other women some opportunities, and just, yeah, give this feud a break. Paul Heyman broke his silence about Brock Lesnar losing to Goldberg finally. And Paul Heyman, I gotta tell you, he looked like a wreck. He really sold this loss like he had not seen the light of day in weeks. You know, his eyes were bloodshot. And I mean bloodshot. They were red. He had a 5 o'clock shadow. He started crying in the middle of his promo. He was damn near pulling, you know, that Paul Heyman I saw in 2000. I saw this segment with Paul Heyman where he just started swearing at Vince McMahon. He started going off, and it felt like a work shoot almost. And it wasn't, because he didn't say anything controversial. Your protection was that Brock Lesnar had broken ribs. And he made the announcement that he made the announcement that Brock Lesnar will be part of the Royal Rumble. So it's inevitable. We're getting Goldberg Lesnar 3. And I'm fine with whoever wins, to be honest with you. Goldberg's already 2-0, so Lesnar winning wouldn't change much. Like I said, and well, like Heyman said, 126 will forever be cemented as one part of Lesnar's legacy. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. So let's go to SmackDown. Becky Lynch opens up with a contract signing with Alexa Bliss. And I gotta say, this one had an even better war of words than the last one. I think the first one was more directed towards... Okay, let me rephrase that. I think the first one was more serious. It was more intense. It certainly was designed more for Becky Lynch to get that win in terms of the verbal exchange. And I guess the physical side, because she did attack Alexa Bliss afterwards and did get the Bliss did get the shorter end of the stick after that. This one was more just free insults at each other. You could tell these two just kind of went loose with what they were saying, and it worked so well. You heard some great things from Becky. You heard some great things from Alexa. I think Alexa this time around got the better end of the war of words. Becky attacks Alexa with the microphone. She starts attacking her. They start brawling for a little bit. Becky gives an exploder suplex onto Bliss. Bliss is put up on the top rope. Becky climbs up, sets her up for another exploder suplex, but this time onto the table. And Becky flies through the table. I think her tailbone caught more of that table than anything else. You know, Bliss pushed her off, and Becky she leaped and she fell through that table like crazy. And this one was Alexa's win, and this literally set up to Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss now being a tables match. Now, I initially said that this should be a ladder match because I was just thinking of the spots that I could see, and now I think this one's personally even better. You know, I think about it, you know, maybe we could see a sparkle splash through the table, or maybe we could see an exploder suplex through the table. Both would be perfectly fine for me. I would love to see what happens either way. I would just love to see the spots they can come up with. The second storyline of the night, Carmella cut a great promo later on in the show. She was really over with the crowd today. She got a great reception. You started hearing the "How you doing" chants. For some reason, she tried not to deal with it, and then she just she let the "How you doing" chants take over her, and then she eventually said, "I'll be great as soon as I get out of this trash city." And it was a great comeback, but I mean, why did she do it? I mean, it doesn't make sense even in the storyline sense. She may be a heel, but it still doesn't make sense because it's not like she betrayed her boys, you know? Why would she do that? She stepped on her own pop. And that's one thing you hear guys in the business say, never step on your own pop. I think I remember Steve Austin saying in a podcast, don't step on your own pop. and she just broke that rule. It was either Steve Austin on the podcast with Becky Lynch, I think it was, or it was Chris Jericho with the podcast with Sami Zayn. So, apologies if I get that wrong, but anyway, like, why would you do that? You literally stepped on your own pop, and the crowd was red hot for you. It makes me scratch my head. That was a bad decision. Whether she was told to do that or whether that was her on her own, it wasn't smart. All right. Well, what are you going to do, I guess? Anyway, she still won the crowd over. She got a huge she got a huge reception to everything she was saying. She threatened to explode Nikki Bella's Bella twins. She apologized to John Cena for it. It was great. And then Nikki Bella, she attacks Carmella, and on other news, she got a black eye from it. And I really wonder just how stiff these two are going. And I gotta imagine that pretty stiff, because Nikki Bella the week before this suffered a chipped tooth from Carmella. So, these two are brawling like crazy, and you could see it, and it makes me wonder just what these two will do come this Sunday. And I did initially say that I feel like this was going to be a mildly violent match, but now, seeing what I've seen so far, I'm clearly wrong here, and I don't care. I want this match to be all out violent. And I'm going to talk about my TLC predictions, which is in my next video, but I'll talk about in a minute. So, yeah, there's that. There was also the Dean Ambrose, James Ellsworth segment. I thought that was pretty cool. So Dean Ambrose, he brought back the Ambrose Asylum, and his guest was, of course, James Ellsworth, which, like fish food, attracted AJ Styles. He comes out, he starts talking about Dean Ambrose, he starts talking about James Ellsworth, and Dean Ambrose, he cut one of the best promos on Styles. He really ripped him here. He just left Styles speechless. He talked about how, you got to face me Sunday, and for the past 3 weeks, you have been focused on a guy you've been focused on. You gotta face me for the past 3 weeks, you've been focused on James Ellsworth. You better get your head on straight. And he said a bit of stuff that just snuffed Styles. Styles, he just stayed silent for a minute, and then he just cheap shotted Dean, and then he went on to attack James Ellsworth. He gave him a Styles clash from the steel steps onto the bare floor. It was really good. And I'm glad James Ellsworth didn't tuck his chin. And I'm glad that the rest of his chin didn't catch the steel steps, which it looked like he was about to. So I was scared for a minute. Dean Ambrose later attacked AJ Styles from behind in a backstage segment. And honestly, this was a good week of WWE. Alright, guys, so we're going to wrap that podcast up. Be sure to tune in to TLC. Josh will be here, so chances are we will do a quick podcast before the show starts. So the predictions, I will do a solo podcast, and then I will do a podcast with Josh to just get his opinions on what's going to happen. And, I might give a rehashing of my predictions. But overall, just be sure to tune in, have some fun, because I sure as hell will. And just have a great day, everyone. Good night. Or good morning.